And the AP is the dog in the kennel you never put your foot on because it's going to rear up and bite you. And now all the other dogs are yapping at Jay Carney and the president. And, I just think that this is far more serious. And it's not about the individual things, any one of which were serious. But this shows a level of contempt for the Constitution and for the American people and for ethical practices. This is just jackbooted government thuggery.
I want to ask you, Mike, concerning the Associated Press story. That's kind of the only one that I have pause about in this respect, and I'm sort of waiting for a little bit more information. On the face of it, it looks like a dragnet. Like it was like, wow, the Justice Department is monitoring 20 different phone lines and multiple reporters. I mean, this seems like it's a terrible thing to do, and obviously the press corps thinks so, and the Associated Press thinks so. But when the Attorney General says, hey, this was done in the name of protecting American lives, in essence, that's what he said yesterday, and I think he's supposed to testify today in front of Congress. I step back for a minute and I go, well, I'm not for intimidating the media or spying on people without purpose, but in the name of national security and protecting lives, maybe so. You know what I'm saying? So how do you feel about that angle?
Well, that's what he said, and it's certainly a nice excuse, but it doesn't wash for this reason.
Okay.
First of all, it is their intent to find out who in the government leaked highly sensitive information that apparently was related to a terrorist plot. So the problem is not somebody in the press. The problem is that somebody in his own government, in his agency or someone else's agency, is leaking like a busted pipe. So the question is, do you investigate the Associated Press, or do you do a better job of policing your own government agencies? If you need to get information from the Associated Press, the appropriate action would have been to go to the executive editor and the CEO of the AP, sit down with them and say, folks, here's the situation. We've had a leak. We're not trying to accuse your reporter, because if reporters can get their hands on a good story and great information, we understand they're going to try to get it. But the problem is where they sourced it. We'd like your help and cooperation because this is the implications of it. I think they would have probably gotten cooperation from the Associated Press. This administration would have. Now, had it been the Bush administration, they'd have probably told them to go swim in the lake and take the water out before they did. But that's not an adequate explanation for why they would go in and look at 20 different phone lines, 100 different individuals at the Associated Press, and not notify both the reporters as well as the agency, the Associated Press, that they were, in fact, being investigated.
Governor Huckabee, we're talking about Benghazi, the IRS, now this AP story. It reminds me of these commercials or these acts in Las Vegas where a guy has 3 chainsaws going at the same time and he's juggling them, and you're just wondering which one's he's going to cut something off with. Do you think any of these pose a danger, carrying this metaphor maybe too far, pose a danger to this administration?
I absolutely do. Last week, I was ridiculed for saying it, but I said that I thought the lessons on Benghazi alone could ultimately bring down this administration. And by that, I meant that there's one of 3 ways it could do it. One would be that it would be so incredibly overwhelming culpable on his part that he would be forced to resign before the end of his term, could be impeached, especially depending on the outcome of the next year's elections, or it could be that he stays in office and rides it out, but he effectively has ended his presidency in terms of any effectiveness because nobody will trust him, believe him, or work with him. That was prior to the revelations of the IRS and prior to the revelations of the Department of Justice, essentially wiretapping the AP. I think now there's more indication than ever that this is a president who can't get his story straight. And he trots out spokesmen and trots out agency heads, all of whom say, as Eric Holder did yesterday, now, I didn't do this. It was someone underneath me. And you have the president saying, I didn't know about what was going on in Benghazi. Somebody else made that decision. You wonder, is anyone in charge in Washington?
talking to Governor Mike Huckabee for the next couple of minutes here. I'm Tim Wildman with Ed Vitagliano. You're listening to American Family Radio. Yeah, that's the thing. You know, the old Harry Truman, the buck stops here. With President Obama, no, you know, the buck is somewhere else, but it's not stopping here. This is, and it's getting tiresome and it's getting old, even with the Washington Press Corps, who's been his friend and ally, quite frankly, the last 5 years.
His mistress.
Yes, and now here we are. When I read that they were spying on the AP reporters, I was flabbergasted because, like you, Mike, these are his best friends.
Yeah.
And he's turned on them. Now, who's he going to have? You know, he if he's not impeached, if he doesn't have to, you know, leave office, he's in effect. I said yesterday that he's going to be not going to be a lame duck. Metaphorically speaking, he's going to be a dad duck because he might as well go golf for the next 3.5 years, and he might as well go on vacation, and he might as well have the parties at the White House because especially if the immigration reform bill dies, he's not going to be able to do anything, and he's going to be wrapped up in scandal. He's going to wish he would have never run for office.
Yeah,
that's my view.
Well, three things have happened this week, Tim, that I think have turned the corner in his future. Number one is that the Washington Press Corps has now turned on him. Carney got hit with over 130 questions yesterday, and none of them were friendly. None of them were the gushing, oh, golly, we're so happy to be here kind of questions that he's used to getting. The second thing that happened was the Democrats turned on him. Now you have Democrats openly challenging what this administration has done, why they have done it, and demanding an investigation and accountability. And the third thing, which is frankly very significant, is that the late-night comedians have also turned on him. You know, Obama was essentially untouchable other than maybe some extraneous things. But now his policies are directly the fodder of comic material. And the reason I say that's important is because when the comics start talking about Benghazi, the AP, they start talking about the IRS investigations and making fun of it. They're making fun of him, but what they're doing, they're taking it into the general culture and population. Most of this stuff has existed only within the sphere of people who watch Fox News, listen to talk radio, and read conservative blogs. That no longer is the case. I mean, people in the general culture didn't know there was a Kermit Gosnell trial. They were not aware of anything all that remarkable about Benghazi. Now they're aware of those things, and they're also aware of the IRS and AP scandals.
Mike, thanks so much for your time. We look forward to visiting with you again real soon, and we appreciate your work.
Always a pleasure, Tim. Ed, good to talk to you, and you guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Governor Mike Huckabee joining us for some commentary on the